I'm Anna, the Yarn Randomizer, and this is episode 23 of the Yarn Randomizer, and I'll be looking over there because my notes are over there. And so let's just get on with it. This is a knitting podcast. There might occasionally be something else on here, but it's going to be pretty much knitting all the time. And then I wanted to say welcome to folks who are new here, coming here for the first time and finding my podcast. I hope you enjoy it. And for folks who are coming back, glad you're coming back, and hoping you continue to find interesting stuff, interesting ideas, and good things to see and stuff. And then you can find me on Instagram as original.annasender there. And on Ravelry, I am the Yarn Randomizer, and also in Gmail, the Yarn Randomizer. And I also have a mailing address below as well, down in the notes down there. Let's see, why randomizer is because I have numbers assigned to all the yarns in my stash, and every so often I have my husband pick a number out of my little bucket of chips, and then I have to figure out what to do with that yarn. And so that's kind of what I play around with for the most part. Here there are other projects as well, but most of my projects are Yarn Randomizer projects. Pardon me. Okay, let's see. And so if you do enjoy this podcast, please do like and subscribe to help kind of expand the exposure. It's helpful and everything. And that's it. Let's get right down to it. The first thing I wanted to say was I did record a video of seaming up an emotional support chicken. And so you'll see that should be up before this podcast is up. And so that'll be up and available in my techniques listing, and it's long because I recorded the entire thing, and so I hope it's helpful. The next one I will record is how I do connect the two tail sections together, how I'm doing that 3-needle bind off there, because it's a little different than a standard 3-needle bind off. And so I will do a video showing that next, because I have to start another emotional support chicken to do that. And so that's preliminaries, and now we'll get into the usual stuff. So what I'm wearing is I'm wearing a sweater called Sugar Maple. I made it with some Sheep Jez Whirl, which is this yarn that changes color over the entire skein. And I wanted to use it with this sweater pattern because it takes advantage of a long gradient skein, but I modified it a little bit. In the pattern, they end with a pointed hem, and I just wanted a straight hem down below. And so I modified it a little bit so that I continued to have a line down the middle, the same sleeves pretty much in the pattern, but not the kind of hem. And all those are in my notes for the project, which will be linked below. But I really like this, and it's I don't know if it's 100% cotton. I'd have to take a look. Maybe I should bring that up really quick. Let's see my projects, and that you'll find. I'll just search maple. There it is. And so that in the single skein of Sheep Jez Whirl is 1,093 yards, and it is 60% cotton and 40% acrylic. And so, and it's interesting, it transitions these colors the way it does by changing the strands of the yarn, like one strand at a time. And so you'll find areas where they're making that change, and it'll be a little lumpy bumpy or kind of fray looking, but you just kind of go with it. And I'm really happy. It's a very comfortable sweater. It's a fingering weight sweater and stuff, but good for this weather. It's a little warm today. And so that's what I'm wearing today. All right. Now, finished objects. Okay. I'm trying to decide what order to do them in, but I think we will cover the chicken in the room. So I finished another emotional support chicken. It's looking a little kind of off kilter there. I may kind of manipulate them a little bit, but and this one's another kit from the Knitting Tree LA, and this one's Meg Shell Obama and stuff. So kind of a red, white, and blue chicken there, and I've got a very specific recipient in mind for this chicken. But I recorded the process of sewing together this whole thing here, and the tail and all of that. And so you'll see that link, I'll put that link below and everything, but I had a lot of fun making it again. It only took longer because I waited a while until I was ready to record it. Otherwise I would have seamed it together much sooner and had it ready sooner. I'm going to start on the next one so I can record the tail section and get that up there as well. But I hope I think they're pretty fun to knit. It's nice practice with short rows and everything, and they're just darn cute. So that is my latest emotional support chicken, and I'm going to get another one underway pretty soon. All right. Now, the other big thing I got done, my fingering weight sweater. Now, this was a project that was left over from last year, a Yarn Randomizer project, and this is the Ravello by Isabel Kramer, and you can see there's the sleeves, and there should not be, it's interesting that there's, it's where I had to change the yarn. I've woven in all the ends at the very edges, but I have some other finishing work to do, but I think it turned out great, and I've tried it on. I will pop in a picture of me wearing it there. But yeah, I'm so happy with it. Gosh, it's hard to kind of get the whole thing in here. And it's really neat because this purple part at the bottom uses basically an entire skein of yarn to do that. And then I use most of a couple other skeins to do the striping and everything. I did put a collar on it. The collar is optional, and I was very concerned that the collar would curl because you can see it kind of wants to lean back a little bit there. But when I put it on and wore it, it worked out perfectly. What I did there was I did one needle. This is all done on size 6 needles, and we should talk about that for a bit. But the collar I did on size 5, and then I did the last 3 rows on size 3 because I wanted to pull it in so that it wouldn't roll. I was very concerned it would roll, but it did behave very well. The sleeves have a little bit of a couple of rounds of stockinette at the end to provide that little curve at the end. And I decided that the 2x1 ribbing that's at the bottom, I would do that at the sleeves and at the neck as well. And so I noted that that's not what the pattern does. It does 1x1 at the end of the sleeves and on the neck if you put ribbing on the neck. They also have an I-cord option. And then this also had a 2 knits surrounded by pearls along the edge. See if I can find that somewhere to show that. So it gives sort of a faux side seam there. But yeah, I'm super happy with it. Now, one thing I do have to do is I have to tidy up where I did color changes. I think there are areas here that look really good where I did the color changes, and some places where I have to tidy up. And so this is an example of where it looks pretty good, where I did the color changes. And actually, no, not that side. I'm cheating there. There's no color changes that happen right there. Here it is on this side. Now let's see what it looks like on the outside. It might need a little tidying, but I think for the most part, it looks pretty good where those color changes are happening. And you can see, I'll show you the inside. Let's see if you can see that. You can see how the colors are carried, and they kind of intertwine with each other coming down the sweater. Now on the back though, unfortunately, I made where I missed a twist, and it's really, you can really see it. You see that? There should be, see there's a relatively open, let's see if I can spot it here. Oh yes, right there. So there's sort of an open spot there where I didn't intertwine those yarns correctly. So I'm going to go in there with another strand of the yarn and tidy that up. I did block this because I wanted to see how it turned out, and now I'll finish up. The only tidying up I need to do is where the color changes and where the like I changed a ball of yarn from one to another. But at the edges, I finished all those bits of yarn. But yeah, it's really, I really love how it looks and how it feels. I would say the only concern I have with it is this pattern calls for a, pardon me, a fingering yarn, and but it wants a 22.5 stitches per 4 inches for fingering, which is a pretty open gauge, and it produces a really nice fabric and everything. But I'm not sure I'm totally crazy about it, or maybe you need to pick a yarn that will fill in a little better. It still feels a little open. And I'll contrast that with this. This sweater is fingering yarn on a size 5, and I think this fabric looks really good. Now this is probably straight up fingering, where this wasn't classified as a light fingering. In fact, it wasn't. It was, this yarn on the upper part is a, got, I think, 315, something. It's got, pardon me, the amount of yards per 100 grams is not bad. It's, you know, it's not, wouldn't seem to be a light fingering. See if I can, oh yes, 415 yards per 100 grams, but it seemed a little on the thin side to me in some ways, and I think you can see that in the stitches. And what's interesting is this Lorna's laces down here seems less thin, even though it's actually got 430 yards to 100 grams, so more yardage. And they're a similar composition. The Lorna's laces is a 80-20, 80% merino, 20% nylon. And this Mandy's Making yarn is 75-25. They're both superwash. And so yeah, some things to think about there. I think if I did it again, I might go ahead and do it on size 5 instead, and pick my pattern size appropriately to go with that. But we'll see. But overall, I'm very happy with it. I'll do some tidying up on it, and that thing will be ready to go. All right. So those are my 2 finished objects. And now works in progress. So I did say one fib, I think, last time. I said I was showing almost all my works in progress. There's actually one I'm not, and it's in this bag over here. Let's see, yeah, this one here. And that's my On the Spice Market shawl, and I probably will pick that up again soon. I was obsessed about finishing the Ravello this past week. So I've got a few things that are sort of on pause. I'm still reworking the design on the motorcycle sweater. I've got that On the Spice Market shawl going, and the Jimmy Beans wool shawl. I haven't made any more progress. I've got more yarn for it now, so I've got to get it caught up. And I have, of course, 2 hibernating blankets that just get yarn added to them as they come up. So that's the whips that are all kind of resting at the moment. And now the ones that are in progress. So I had some pizza a little while ago, and it seems like it's need to clear my throat a lot. All right. So I have my Slipstravaganza continuing to grow. And so here you can see the bubble stitches. So I've done 2 full repeats of the bubble stitches. Now I'm on the 3rd, and there'll be a 4th repeat of the 3 colors. And that'll be done by close to the end of June. So it's got a ways to go. But this continues. I just still absolutely love knitting this blanket. It is so neat, and it's getting so large. Let's see if I can stand up with that. No, not much. But yeah, it's really just really fun to knit, just that reasonable amount every day. And by the end of the year, I'll have an 86.5 inch in diameter Slipstravaganza blanket by Stephen West. And really looking forward to having that. So I'm enjoying the process, but I also can't wait for the result of this knit as well. And this is knit with Lankava, their DK Myanio. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but all the details are in the project page. And yeah, I recommend both the pattern and the yarn. And the yarn, part of the reason I picked the yarn was because this blanket requires a minimum of 4 skeins, 100-gram skeins of each color of DK that you're going to use. It also says 5 of one, depending on the yardage you're getting out of your skeins. I only needed 4, but 16 skeins of yarn is a pretty hefty price if you do like hand-dyed yarn and stuff. So I went with that Lancava from Finished Knits from their shop online because it made the whole project much more affordable. Okay, now, so that's the blanket. Okay, next is my Harvey Wallbanger sweater that I'm working on, and this I'm making out of the leftover yarn from my mom's stash. And so I've been making, I think, pretty good progress on that too. I think I showed that I had the front done last time, but I'll hold that up again. Get all tangled up here. Let's see if I can get this a little untangled there. I'm keeping some yarn connected because I'm trying to avoid having additional ends. So there is the front. There we go. Ta-da! See all the different purples that are in there and the greens. And now I have the back. I've got yarn going everywhere. Let's see. And so let's bring this up. Here's what I have on the back so far. So it's a total, I think it was 11 panels. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So not too many more, and I'll get the back done. And then I'm going to knit the 2 sleeves at the same time. And the 2 sleeves this is a drop shoulder sweater. So the nice thing are the sleeves aren't as long as they might be with a set in sleeve. And so I think they should go relatively fast. And I plan to knit both of those at the same time. So my challenge to myself is to, we'll see, this will be a stretch goal for the next recording, is to finish this sweater for the next podcast. So we shall see. But it'll be a really cool remembrance for my mom, having that sweater made with all those leftovers from her stash and everything. All right, now the next thing. So I think I only have one more work in progress to show. And so I wanted to pick out, after all these sweaters and everything, I wanted to pick out something smaller to work on. So I jumped down into my queue and picked up this. It's Yarn Randomizer project number 14 for this year. And this is, can you see it? It's so dark. This is the Brio Clava. I'm working on another Brio Clava. I've made a couple of these before, and I gave them away as gifts, and I wanted to make one for myself. And so this is using Drops Lima, which is a mix of wool and alpaca. Oh, it feels great. And so it'll be interesting to see how this works up. And I'm going to be combining that with this Suri alpaca as the other part of the brioche stitch that'll be in the part that goes around the head. And so that's where I'm at so far. So I got a little more length to work on, but this is a convenient project to be on the go, at least for now it is. And so yeah, so my Brio Clava, big start there, and it's going. And so that's it for my works in progress. So now acquisitions. And so I did have some acquisitions, and we'll talk more in stash management when we get down there. But I saw Dye Mad Yarns, which is an Ohio dyer here in Columbus, and I really like. She's got some great colorways, so I highly recommend checking out her shop. It'll be linked below. She had a yarn color called Tweed, and I really like the color. So it's dyed on her Rainbow DK base, and you can see I've got a thing for greens lately, it seems like. But so you see it's called Rainbow DK because it's got these rainbow tweed in there. So this is Tweed. I got 4 skeins of this. Let's see, grab that. Ta-da. And the idea is a sweater. And I actually am thinking about, there's a vest that has cables that I think would look great in this yarn. But again, I won't be starting this right away. This has to go, it'll get assigned a number and it'll go into the bucket. And so we'll see when it comes back out of the bucket. But yeah, so that's my one acquisition. I also got some Xiaogu circulars. I got tired, I talked about this last time, I got tired of doing magic loop on smaller circumference but larger needles, and so I got a size 6, 7, and 8 and two pairs of circulars on each side, so I can, and it's what I use to finish the sleeves on the Ravello. But yeah, so this and those needles are my only acquisitions. So now, whoop, watching yarn fall on the floor. So I think, do I talk about the, yes, stash management I will cover next. So for anybody who's new here, my rule is twice as much yardage has to go out as comes in. So I earn budget by finishing projects or destashing, and then I subtract from that budget twice double what the yardage is that's coming in. So I preemptively, before I ordered any yarn, I had a yarn that had been sitting in my stash for a while, and I'll just stick a picture up there. This Rowan Pure Wool Superwash Worsted that I got. And it's 15 skeins of it. It's a lot of yarn. It's a very pale pink, and it's not yarn I ever bought. It was yarn that somebody gave to me for free. And every time I look at it, you know, it's kind of like, it's not really my color. It's very pale. You see, it's very pale pink. And I wasn't crazy about it. And I finally decided to destash it and give it to a friend of mine. And so she's getting a surprise tomorrow night when she gets this yarn. But yeah, but she's got, you know, grandkids and stuff that she can make all kinds of cool stuff for. So I figure she'll make good use of it. But I decided to destash that, and that gave me, I think, over 3,000, do I have it there? It was over 3,000 yards of kind of budget. So then I took two times the length of this. So this was about 900 yards, 900 and, I'm gonna have to come up with that total there. I didn't write it down. I'm not gonna do the math in my head right now, but basically 246 times 4 times 2. I took that away from the total, and that leaves me still with a budget about 2,500 yards. I think I may have to double check that to see I've done everything right, but I think that's right. And so I want to build up a little more budget, so I want to get that Harvey Wallbanger sweater done so I can add more yardage into my budget, because in June I'm going to a Jimmy's Biggest Little Getaway retreat for Jimmy Bean's Wool in Reno, Nevada. So I want to be able to get some yarn and not feel guilty about it, have some budget to do that. So I'm going to work on building that up. But I decided that looking through my stash, I had another yarn that I thought I would go ahead and destash and that I would send out to somebody here. And so I will show that to you now. And so this is a Yarnable yarn that I got from Hypnotic Yarn. And this is a really beautiful color. And this is Wildflowers. And so I think, I don't know if she puts the month down that this came out. No, it does not. But this was one of the first skeins of Hypnotic Yarn I got through Yarnable. And it feels great. This is really, their yarn is really nice. Yeah, it's a 85-15 superwash merino and nylon. And so I would say, if you're interested in this, just write Wildflowers in your comment down below, and I'll figure out in 2 weeks who this is going to go to. So, and this will give you guys a chance, somebody a chance to try out this Hypnotic Yarn. I've been super happy with it. I really enjoy working with it. And so this will give somebody a chance to try it out and stuff. And in such a beautiful color as well. All right, so Wildflowers. That's the word. So that the scammers don't show up. Don't say anything about giveaways and that kind of stuff. Everybody's learned their bitter lesson. You know, so many folks in so many podcasts have commented on that. People getting into their comments and saying, "Oh, hey, you won," and that kind of stuff when they're just trying to get your information to rip you off and stuff. So that's that. I think this is going to be, yeah, we're only 25 minutes. This is going to be a fast one today. And then finally, oh yeah, the next yarn randomizer pick. All right. So I fibbed on my little short about this yarn. So this is Yarn Randomizer pick number 16 for this year, for 2024. And this is Anzula Nebula in the colorway Au Naturel. And I don't know that you can see it, but it has stellina. It's a little sparkly yarn. And you know, I meant to grab the thing that I had made out of it. Let me, just a second. There. I'm gonna step around all kinds of yarn here. Okay, so there's this, and this is what I had used it in. And this is the Joji Locatelli Suburban wrap. It's a really nice, you know, basic lace and stripes type shawl. And it turned out really nice. There we go. Let me do that. And so this is what I have left over. Now this is about 168 yards. And you know, I think when I talked about this in the short, I said I didn't really have a good sock yarn this year. Well, that's not true. Earlier this year, the Peyton's Croy socks in the Gentry Gray had come up, and I'd made a really cool pair of socks out of that. Short memory going on there. But I usually like to have a pair of socks on the needles, and so got this. But obviously, just 168 yards. I thought, what do I do with it? And so I looked around, and I was looking for yarn patterns that use 2 yarns. And I happened across, and there are plenty that use 2 yarns, and I could have found another yarn in my stash to go with this to make a full pair of stockinette socks. But I stumbled across Andrea Mowry's Curio socks. Now the Curio socks are a pattern that uses some fingering combined with a sport weight yarn, and in the pattern they call for dyed in the wool, which is that yarn that varies, kind of constantly changes through the skein and shifts between colors. Now I have this skein, and boy, the purple and green theme this year is just over the top, right? But I have this skein, you can see that. And I think this, folks, might be local. It's a very basic tag, Stonehenge, not hinge, Stonehenge Fiber Mill. And this is their yarn called Crazy. And they say no 2 skeins are alike. And I thought, I'll put a picture up of the Curio socks. So my plan is to have this be the fingering weight and to this substitute for the dyed in the wool, because this is a sport weight skein, and make a pair of socks out of this. And I think that will be super exciting. I think those will go well together. And it'll be an interesting result. It will be interesting to see how these colors play out between the two. But that's Yarn Randomizer pick number 16 for this year. So I'm down to doing just one every couple of weeks because I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, because I definitely got a lot of sweater quantities early this year. And I have another sweater I need to start. I plan to start the Anna tee here soon. And I've got some ideas about that because I was just going to do it in color blocks, but I have an idea about how I want to transition those colors when I come up to them. So I've got to tinker with my spreadsheet that I've made and do that detail, and then see about planning that out a little more thoroughly as far as how that's going to play together. But first things first, I have to do a gauge swatch for that. So we'll see. So that, I believe, is everything. And like I said, I plan on getting a video out on doing the 3 needle bind off on the Emotional Support Chicken on the tail, and so that'll come soon. I still have my stash tours. I got to get up there. And other than that, the weather's been really nice here, pretty warm, getting out to do things in the yard. I hope things are, you're getting some decent weather, getting to do the things you want to do, and taking good care of yourself wherever you're at, whether you're going into sweater weather down in the southern hemisphere, or if we're coming in. It's so beautiful, so green outside right now this spring. Really enjoying it, although I do have to do some more mowing. But yeah, other than that, I hope things are going well there, that you're having a lot of fun, and you're enjoying your knits.